Hi guys, so try to my voice sounds a little bit crazy. I know that, but I was slash am sick and I'm trying to come off of it. But I really wanted to get some videos filmed because my lack of voice seems to be dragging and dragging on. But so just try to ignore it. We're gonna push through and just sound a little bit crazy. Anyway, this video is going to be my little review on the new NYX Control Drop Foundation. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Oh, Total Control. I'm sorry. Close enough. The NYX Total Control Foundation. And I found this in my Ulta. I know that I think it only launched on the NYX website on the 28th of December. So I was kind of surprised to see it in Ulta, but it was there, so I picked it up. And I tried it for a few days. It's one of those add 1 drop for light cover, or 2 drops for light coverage, 3 drops for medium coverage, and then for fullest coverage add 4 drops. It's one of those sort of concepts. So I'm looking on my phone right now. I'm going to read sort of what it says on the NYX website about what this is. Well, first of all, it's $14 on the NYX website. Pretty sure in Ulta it's $13.99, or maybe it's just $14. And it comes in 24 shades, which is pretty impressive. I have this shade Alabaster, which I'm certain is the second lightest shade. There is one more shade lighter than that called Pale. Apparently, it literally just says Pale on here. But I am in the shade Alabaster. And their description of this says, from sheer to full, your ideal coverage is just drops away with our new Total Control Drop Foundation. Fine-tune this velvety matte foundation with the included dropper. Simply adjust the number of drops until you create the look you're feeling today. Feeling with an apostrophe. Want more coverage? Add more drops. Then it says, use their brush, because they made that brush, so they want you to use it. You don't have to use the brush. It's just a dense kabuki-ish brush. I think it has a little swoop in it somewhere. Just use any dense brush or whatever sort of means of application you want to use. But I'm just going to share with you my thoughts real fast. So again, I have the shade Alabaster. So you're supposed to shake it before you use it, so keep that in mind. It has one of those little dropper thingies. It's not like a pump. And this is what it looks like. You can see that it's very liquidy. Very liquidy. It's very thin. And that is one thing that I can say about it. It doesn't feel heavy on your skin at all, which is good. But I think the thing that you have to ask yourself the most about this is the 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, 4 drop, however many drop claim. Does it stick? Does it hold? And we'll get there in a second. So I've worn this for a couple days, about 10 hours on average. I tried to wear it for as much time as I could. So I found that when I first applied it, it didn't say how you were to apply it, if you were apply drops right to the brush or apply them right to your face or what have you. So first I applied a couple drops to this buffing brush from Real Techniques. I applied 3 drops and tried to apply it right to my face. Basically that did nothing. I took this denser buffing brush, applied 3 drops to there, tried to do it on the other side of my face. It didn't really do a whole lot. It pretty much just sank right into the brush because it's so thin. It didn't sit on top. It just got stuck. It just sunk right in. So maybe don't do that. The next thing I did was I put 3 drops on my hand and then applied that right to my face and then went to buff it in, and maybe 3 or 4, maybe it was 4, so it's trying to build it up. And as you'll see a little bit later in the video, it really doesn't get past a solid medium, I want to say. I feel in order to get it to a full coverage, you'd have to build it up so much, and it doesn't make any sense because at that point, you're obviously using way more than 4 drops. To get what I have on right now, which I'll show you later, I used a total of 18 drops. 18. I used 18 drops to figure this out. So it's kind of not really what you want when you're supposed to be able to use 4 drops and get full coverage. Anyway, so I found that even when I got it on my skin, when I got it to the coverage I wanted, when you use a pretty thin layer, so sheer coverage, I wouldn't say you have to set it. It sets pretty well. I would say it's matte, maybe a little skin-like, but it's not like dewy at all. Looking on your skin, I like it more if you apply it with a sponge. I think it just evens it out. I think with a brush on my skin is normal, a little bit dry, but I don't have like dry patches, if that makes sense. The brush, I feel like, made my skin look way more textured than it actually was, which is why I prefer using the sponge, even though it's going to shear it out a little bit more. I think the overall effect you get after using that, I think it's just better. I think it's better, for me at least. So let's see, after the 3-hour mark, I would say it's pretty consistent across the days. I think it looks better than when you first apply it. It looked a little less textured than when I first applied it a couple hours later after it had sort of like sat on my skin and warmed up and all that jazz. It really started to emphasize my smile lines, which sort of everything does, but this was like crazy. Like, it really sunk into them and sort of like spread out around them, so they looked way more defined, which is not really what you want. So that wasn't great, but it didn't fade at all. So after 3 hours, it was still like where it was when I had first put it on. After 5 hours, my smile lines had sort of faded, which was good. But that also means that the foundation is fading off after 5 hours. I had a little bit of breakdown around my nose, and I don't get super oily in my face. I don't really get super oily, but I do get a little oily around my nose. If it's gonna happen, that's where it's gonna happen, there in my chin. And after 5 hours, it was already starting to like break down around my nose and look a little bit separated and strange. It also makes my pores look huge. It emphasizes the pores like right around my nose, like on my cheeks right here, so much. Like, they look gigantic, and they're pretty big. So that's fine, and like that's just what my face looks like, but I feel like they just looked way more enhanced as it was like sitting on my skin. 9 hours, there was even more breakdown, so this is not really a long wearing foundation. I don't know, does it claim to be long wearing? I don't think anywhere on here it says it claims to be long wearing, but after 5 hours, at the 5 hour mark, I was already starting to see like breakdown, so there's that. And there was more fading. I started to get fading like right here along my jawline and also like the middle part of my face. So after 9 hours, it was starting to fade away, and it still looked really cakey around my pores, and my smile lines had faded more, but that's because that foundation was starting to fade, not because, I don't know, of anything else. Like, the foundation itself was just fading away. And at the 10-hour mark, it basically just was looking a little more cakey around my pores. There was more breakdown, more wearing away, again, like right in the middle of my forehead and on this part of my face, which my forehead I feel like doesn't make any sense because I don't really touch there a whole lot. So that was just like natural wear down of the foundation. There was one day where I applied a whole lot of it. Like, I literally just took the dropper and squeezed it out and then just tried to like go from there and see how much I could cover. And I got like a pretty medium, solid medium, high medium coverage, but that was with like a whole dropper full of product. Like, it was, which again, it doesn't, like the claims, it doesn't make sense, doesn't correlate. But when you do apply a whole lot more, I feel like I do have to set it. I set half my face that day to see if there was like more longevity. There seemed to be a little bit, it lasted a little bit longer on the side that I had powdered. And then the side that I hadn't powdered still had like a weird tacky finish. Throughout the day, I could sort of like feel it. If I touched my face, it didn't quite settle the way because you had to use so much product to get the coverage. You know what I'm saying? So if I were to use this as like a regular foundation, not like a mix-in or anything else, I would have to use way more than they're suggesting or claiming that you'll need to use, and I need to set my whole face. So that. So I will show you I'll show you me like applying it to my face so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. You hear my clicking on my computer. I feel very fancy. My computer's like right here in front of me because I feel very professional. Okay, so this is me applying it to my face. This is the dense buffing brush that I'm using. I'm taking 4 drops on the back of my hand, sort of dotting that all over my face, and then really sort of buffing it in. Not really in circular motions, but sort of like a pressing motion. So that's the half of my face that I use the brush on. So you can still see my skin. It doesn't look drastically different. Sort of got rid of some of the redness. Now on the other side, I'm gonna use 4 drops again, and this time I'm gonna use my sponge. Now you'll see it does sheer it out a little bit. There's not as much coverage, but I do think the finish looks a little bit better. It sort of helps push the product into my skin and it doesn't look as textured. Then I'm basically taking like 10 more drops, I counted, dotting that all over my face and using the sponge because I like the finish of the sponge more. And you can see that I got a pretty like solid medium coverage, but you can see that I still have like a blemish that it didn't cover. I still have a little bit, you can see like some spots poking through, and you can see the redness on my cheek. So even with 18 drops, like the redness wasn't totally covered, and everything wasn't totally covered, which again, it's like you can, 4 drops and you should get full coverage. And that's not what I found to be the case. You have to use way more in order to get a higher coverage. So from that side of things, the drop equals coverage ratio, I don't think it really holds true. I don't have a lot to cover on my face, so I feel like that's sort of saying something. I don't have a lot of imperfections or a lot of scarring or a lot of texture that sort of needs to be covered, and it didn't even cover it on my skin. So the drop to coverage ratio, I don't think that really holds true. It is very thin and it's lightweight feeling, so that's like a plus. It's very lightweight feeling. It doesn't feel heavy or cakey on your face, although it can look cakey if you have bigger pores, and it's not very long wearing at all. So if you need a really long wearing foundation, not this. I would not recommend this if you need a really long wearing foundation. Now, I feel like I'm being super negative and I'm trying not to be. So I was thinking about like how I would use this, because I'm not going to reach for it as a foundation. There's too much work involved with trying to get it to the coverage that I want. So I would maybe add this to a foundation that needs lightening, because it is a pretty fair color. It matches my neck pretty well, but then I have like multiple tones of skin that are like showing at any given moment. There's like weird tan parts, but like that's not the color of my face or my neck, but my neck is really pale and my chest is a different color. All right, anyway. I might use it to mix into foundations that are a little bit darker that I need help lightening up, because it's so thin. I don't know if it would necessarily change like the consistency of another foundation. It's not like a super thick consistency foundation. So I feel like that is, if I'm going to use it for anything, that's what I'm going to use it for. I'm going to use it to lighten other foundations and sort of see how that works. I haven't done it yet because all of my foundation, not all of them, but I have a lot of foundations that match me right now because I got rid of a lot of them. So I feel like if anything, I'd use it to mix in. I'm not going to reach for it on a regular basis. Again, the little, like on the back of this is the packaging, by the way. On the back of the packaging, it says like this many drops for this and this and blah, 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 and all that stuff. I don't think that's true. So would I recommend it? If you're looking for something that's pretty sheer, like by itself, my nose is running, I'm sorry. If you're looking for something that's pretty sheer by itself, or like pretty light coverage, then sure, like give it a try. But if you're looking for something that is like a really easy medium, or like a really solid full coverage, I'm not going to recommend this. So don't think that you're going to use 4 drops and it's going to cover your whole face. I don't find that to be true. But you know, try it for yourself. If you have any thoughts on this, I'd be happy to hear them. I tried not to watch any reviews on this, so these are sort of like my genuine thoughts. I watched one video, but it was after I had like all my thoughts organized. But I try not to watch anything because I try not to sway my own opinion. And yeah, so these are my 4 real thoughts on this product. And yeah, if you have any other thoughts, like I said, like please comment down below. Like I'd love to hear them. If it worked for you and you found some like way to use it, you know, like by all means, I'd be happy to hear it. So I hope this video was helpful. This foundation is really new, so I hope this sort of helped you if you were interested in looking at it. And yeah, that's sort of all I have to say. I hope my voice wasn't too distracting. It just, I don't know when it's gonna come back, and I really wanna try to get some videos out. So, all right, if you are new here, hello, welcome. I'll leave the subscribe button right over there if you're new or just haven't subscribed yet, along with my latest video if you are interested. And like I said a million times before, I hope this video was helpful for you, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.